We're live from the Rez here with special guest, the one, the only, Anthony Tesam, a.k.a. most people know him as Ant, a.k.a. most people know him on the Rez here as Old Kickstand. How you doing today, man? Did anybody still call you that?
Yeah.
Now that you're all settled down and everything, you still Kickstand?
Every once in a while, I've run into the old folks that call me that. Not the old folks, but the old homies. And they still call me Kickstand or Kick or...
There's probably people that's all they know you by a bit, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people just come up to me and call me Kickstand, and they don't even know my first name, to be honest.
No, do they know why they call you that, though?
No, I don't think so.
You don't share that? Only certain people know that one.
Yeah, most people don't.
So here's the other question I would have, and not to get too personal, or, if you don't want to share, I understand, but, I feel like maybe... does tribal enrollment have an issue with that? Now, I've known you, we've talked tonight a lot about, growing up on this reservation. You grew up on this reservation. You rode bikes with everybody. You went to school with everybody. You defended people at times. You've just been a member of this community your whole life. As I've grown up just seeing you, you'd be over at my sister's house, my nephews and things like that, your brother. I know your family. Our family's known each other since before we were ever here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your great grandma or your grandma, whatever, did my mom's hair when she got married and stuff. She did she did my mom's hair when she got married. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So back in those days, you used the res economy. So if you knew someone that took pictures, you had them take pictures. If you someone did hair, you had them do your hair. If you knew someone made cakes, you had them make cakes, which is, by the way, we got to talk more about that in a minute because we really got to get back to that, as opposed to this idea of everybody on the outside. We should be listening and entertaining them more than our own people. Yeah, which I think it isn't in line with what we're talking about.
Yeah, and see, that's a trip. We don't even accept our own people anymore. Uh-huh. We would rather hire out and figure something out where we hire a white man or a Middle Eastern person to do something for us or to sponsor us, like for fighting or something like that. Like, why not take care of our own people, Yeah. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, just because I'm not an enrolled member in this tribe doesn't mean you guys can't help me out, or just because I'm not an enrolled member in another tribe doesn't mean you guys can't help me out. Like, I'm not asking for a handout. I'm asking to promote what we can do a part of our community. I'm not saying, like, fighting-wise, I'm not saying that promoting me as a fighter means I'm going to bring violence to the reservation. Maybe these kids on our reservations need to learn discipline. What I learned, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah. Boxing. And it's not all violent what everybody thinks it is. Some of these people look at us and they see me like I'm young. They seen the mistakes I made as a child. And they think, oh, you know what? Maybe he's gonna make these mistakes as a contractor. Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm not. I haven't turned around my life, and I haven't made these switches in my life and tried to be a contractor to just fuck my whole life up, Right. I want to do things to better my tribe. I want to do things to better my people. Yeah. And I'm not I don't even feel like I'm a part of a tribe, I'm supposed to be from Barona, but I claim Viejas right now to the day I die.
Yeah, well, you were raised here, man.
Yeah.
You were and you, like, with all the, like we've been talking about, all those experiences as a human, that you're part of the people, right?
Yeah, that I'm a part of them, Like, I don't know what it would take when I get an enrollment number. Then are people gonna start treating me different?
Yeah, I always hear people describe like tribal enrollment, and they talk about it being like a morality thing. And I heard that one time and I thought like, well, how's that a morality thing? I didn't understand that. But like thinking about what you're talking about, it makes it real clear. Like we could have somebody in our community, could be born and raised in that community, hang out with all the other kids, be just like all the kids, all treated the same, fed off the same tables, go to school with all the kids, become an adult with all the kids, make the mistakes with everybody, and then when they turn 18, oh, well, you're not part of these people anymore. And then, okay, so you're going to treat them differently.
Exactly.
There's a morality there. And then like you're talking about, you're raised in a tradition, which, you know, we have a lot of traditions, a lot of culture amongst our people. Not everyone's a singer, not everyone's a cook, not everyone's a digger, not everyone's whatever, but we all have parts and pieces that our families have held on to and given to us as we grow up.
The way that we make up our community.
And we learn, that's our community.
Yeah.
And so you're part of that fabric from a very traditional way of being passed down, and then to be told like, well, thank you for your work, thank you for coming and busting out.
But you ain't shit to me.
But yeah, you're not really one of us.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's really hard. I can see why people would say that's a morality issue.
Yeah, and it's not like I shouldn't be there. My little brother, he has the same blood as me, but our dad was married to his mom. Our dad was not married to my mom. So that makes him better than me?
Yeah, I don't know, man. No, it don't. I would say no, it don't. I've known you're you know, I'm a little older, so I've known you your whole life, and you're a member of this tribe, and I can't think of how many times that I've seen you there busting out for our people, you know, in many ways. And digging's one way, but it's not the only way.
No,
I mean, when we did cultural programs for educating the youth,
mm-hmm.
you know, you were always there helping to cut the willow and just always helping around. But you know, you're not alone in that either. I always hear this story in Indian country around where it's like, I was raised in a community. You know, and reality is when you get to all of this, you get people who, you know, the reality is that it was designed in the 1800s, right, in the late 1800s,
mm-hmm.
and this was real empowering for me when I learned this, because I was raised up old school. Like, if you want to have your kids enrolled, then you better go hook up with someone, you know, that's Indian, or you better hook up with someone who's got papers.
Yeah.
Or in our res, it was like, you better hook up with someone from Viejas or
Just
Barona.
like a dog.
Just like a dog, and otherwise your kids ain't going to be enrolled.
Yep.
And so my parents are both native, their parents are native, you know, so I ended up, I guess you're kind of conditioned to think that way. So I hooked up with a woman from San Isabel, and we have our kids and all that kind of stuff. I've told my kids that if you want to be with a native, you know, you want your kids to be native, then you need to go hook up with native people. And it's like, you hear these things and you kind of keep it going without even thinking.
Exactly.
But I remember being at a point when I was learning about history of the mid 1800s, when this was all created in America.
Mm-hmm.
And what was empowering to me was to know that this didn't just happen in America, these practices. They happened in, like the Polynesian Islands, they happened in Australia, they happened in to the Maori over in New Zealand. You know, they have a whole stolen generation in Australia, happened in Canada, it happened all over places where people were colonized. And it was a science. It was like a real faulty racial science where they truly believed that, okay, you take these dark people, and they're on the side of a spectrum. The spectrum is that they are primitive, quote unquote primitive, meaning they're like a primate, like an animal.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the spectrum is you have these civilized people who are human, and they are they're light skinned, they're white, they're represented as a European, and so the spectrum is there. So,
and they are normal.
And they're normal, and so. How long does it take for a person to go from primate to normal?
Mm-hmm.
And, in that time period, they thought, well, it takes 4 generations for that to happen. So you take a person, they hook up with you take an Aboriginal or an indigenous person, you hook them up with a European, their kids are now half-breeds.
Yeah.
And so now at that point, we start looking at ourselves like we're dogs or some kind of thoroughbred horses or whatever. I like to think of horse when I think of myself as a dog. The black stallion, right?
Yeah.
But you're a half-breed, which is like half. How are you half of a person? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
And so, okay, their kids become the quarter, right? So that's the 3rd generation. And then the 4th generation, and that 4th generation, by the way, you have all these racial terms that come out of the time period. Like a quadroon is what they would call a lot of African Americans, later on, it meant that, your forefather was a slave. You were a quadroon. And so, but the bottom line is they said, okay, every generation they're going to be culturally assimilated a little bit more. They'll forget their language, their old religion, or their belief patterns, and they'll become here it was Americanized, but over their side of the world it was like Europeanized. So bottom line is they're being colonized, right?
Yeah.
And then that fourth generation, if you look at them, you're not going to see trace of any indigenousness. So they're going to look like a European.
Yeah.
And you see that amongst our people. You go to any tribe, especially ones that have had a long history of mingling with non-natives, intermarriage. Mm-hmm. You see that a lot of the kids don't have the dark skin. They don't have the dark hair. You'll see blonde hair, blue eye, light-skinned people. And so genetically, they have been kind of bred out. Yeah. The indigenousness has been bred out. There are goods to that. You have positives where, maybe they're not now as inclined to get diabetes as a full-blooded, native. Yeah. But at the end of the day, though, the psychology of it is you're telling somebody you're 1/4 this, you're 1/8 that, you're 1/2. You're not a whole person.
It's so ridiculous.
If you go 4 generations down, they realize that you would not have the quote-unquote blood enough to be part of that membership, and you would not have the culture connected either. And so the culture was taken to the boarding school, but then the genetic part, that was taken through intermarriage. And they knew that in the late 1800s. We're going to fight a war and decimate all these people and steal their land. We don't need to do that. If we just put them on these reservations, put them in really hard predicaments, over time they will, if we re-educate them, they will start to just slowly drift as a people, and they won't be here.
Yeah.
And so when I learned that, and when I learned all of that stuff, the Dawes, the Dawes Act and how that was made to re-engineer our society, to go get away from our traditional way of living. When I learned about General Pratt and Carlisle Indian School, where it was like, save the man, kill the savage and all that kind of stuff. When I learned all that stuff, for me, it was like an eye-opener, like, whoa, man, we are right now on course to just not be here in 2 generations or 3 generations. Yeah. Like, it's a miracle that we're still here. People don't realize that. And so you look at everyone's family, and some people walk around, and I have kind of the look, I admit, I have the long hair, I'm dark, and all of that, but in my family, I have family who is no less native than me, but they're blonde and blue-eyed, and all that, you know? And I have nephews and nieces like that, and it's like, they are of my family, they're of me, they're no different than I, we are the same. And who determines what they are and what they are? Isn't that supposed to be the creator? Yeah. No, we use these documents to decide that, and it's terrible, man, because what people don't realize is everyone's going to be in that same boat. If they're not there now, 2 generations from now, everyone's grandkids are going to be in that boat.
Yeah.
Unless you start hooking up with your cousins, but that's not happening.
Not even 2 generations. It's
happening now.
Oh yeah. Like it's ridiculous. Like you could see it around. I see it around every res I go to.
It's rough, dude. And it's a slippery slope too, because you go like, well, if everyone's native, then nobody's native. You have to have a membership. And so I get the idea of because a lot of times too, the people who are complaining the most about it are the ones that don't have the blood. Yeah. But at the same time, you have to look at every single tribe differently because it is part of the sovereignty. Part of the sovereignty, you should be able to choose your own leaders, make your own decisions, choose your own membership.
Yeah, but one of these days that sovereignty is going to be gone because there's not going to be an Indian race.
Rez to Rez, this is something too that was really enlightening for me, is that you go to one tribe or you go to one res and they have a whole different policy as to what their membership is.
Yeah.
So like for instance, my wife's tribe, they claim all Indian blood.
Yeah.
So if you have a direct descendant from that tribe, that reservation, then you're able to be enrolled provided you have enough overall Indian blood.
Yeah.
So if you're half Navajo or half Hopi or something like that, or Blackfoot or whatever, and you have that blood, then you can be enrolled. Even though it's not of that same tribe, you know, but you're in that genetics, you can be enrolled there. They count all Indian blood, which is kind of cool because then, like they're going to be around a long time because as long as
that's how it should be.
It probably should be something like that.
Yeah.
I know there's some nations out there that they say, okay, I'm a parent, I'm enrolled, so my kids can be enrolled. Once they're enrolled, they're kind of counted as it's kind of like full blood.
Yeah.
There is no blood quantum. It's just you're the child of that person. It's direct, and you're in.
Yeah.
It's not everybody, but just that line going down.
Yeah.
That seems kind of cool too, because again, it shows continuation.
Yeah.
But like my res here, our res, it's pretty nitpicky. Like I want to say we have one of the more nitpicky
I heard that a
tribal enrollment
moratorium,
period.
like on the enrollment in Viejas.
You know, I don't know. I gotta look into it. I hope not, 'cause I gotta go do them. I've been slacking on paperwork on my kids, but I do know, like, another part of this problem is that, like, enrollment's one of those things. You know, they say, like, on a date, don't talk about religion, don't talk about, you know, money or whatever. But, like, enrollment for natives
Don't
is
talk
that.
about fucking money.
Yeah.
Do not talk about
Well, that's
fucking
when it
money.
gets corrupted. That's when
That's
it gets
where
ugly.
everything goes out the fucking window.
Yeah. But it's funky when you get a situation like myself. I'm in a situation where it's like, you know, I look at my mom and, you know, my grandma was a full-blooded Kumeyaay from this, you know, community, but she married my grandfather from the Apache lands. He's, you know, shout out CBQ Apache. My mom federally is recognized as a full-blooded Native American or whatever, American Indian.
Yeah.
But she comes from two different tribes. So in our tribal enrollment here, she's looked at as one half, which is funky because if you go like, well, what's the other half? And I had this conversation with my mom. She goes, well, I'm a half. I said, well, Mom, how are you a half? Like when the other half of you is Native too. So how are you not 100% Native? And she was like, well, I guess you could say that. And I said, no, that's what you are. You're 100% Native. You know, and just because it's two different tribes doesn't mean that you're not 100% indigenous to this land here. You know, give or take a couple hundred miles. But it's an old mentality of that enrollment, colonial like way of thinking, all that stuff's like it's in all of our elders. It's in all like my generation. You know, we all kind of have that because 50 years ago people weren't like not being enrolled. Everyone could pretty much get in. And now we're having to experience it. So that's what I was saying. It's like one of those things people don't want to talk about, but dude, we got to talk about it, or else we're not going to have a membership in 20 years.
Honestly, you know, what are we going to be 20 years from now? Honestly, probably fucking nothing.
If we keep playing by those rules, that's a real likelihood, right?
Yeah.
Because people, like, not just this Rez, and I've talked around to people, but like almost every Rez in our region, and I know a lot of places, the enrollment, the population hit the absolute lowest in the 20s.
Yeah.
You know, hit the absolute, across the board everywhere. There was yellow fever, there's all kinds of stuff that was hitting people. Our population been in decline since the Europeans showed up, diseases. But then right around the 20s, it started to flatline and come back up, and we've been in incline, the population is incline. Our Rez here tripled, the next Rez over tripled, almost everyone in our region has tripled in population. But what we're seeing now, the last few years, and then in the next 10 years, everyone's population is stagnant, and then it will start to be in decline.
Oh, yeah.
If it isn't already, it's going to be in decline because you're not enrolling a lot of these kids that are turning 18. They're not eligible. So the elders are passing away, the older people are passing away, but the young kids, instead of everyone being enrolled, a lot of them, half of them might be enrolled, or a quarter of them can actually be enrolled. And so you see a graduating class 10 years ago, they were all enrollable. You see a graduating class now, and you go, wow, out of like 20 of these kids, only 4 of them are enrolled.
Yeah.
So numerically, you go, okay, well, where are we going to be at, like you said, in 20 years? Numerically, it ain't going to look so good.
Yeah, we ain't going to have nothing.
Start to
you know what? And I'm not just saying this, like, me and my brother have gone round and round about this. Like, I just want to feel like I'm a part of something, you know? Like, it sucks that I can come up here, I can help the youth, I can show the youth, like, at my age now, like, what I know. Like, I was over there building the shed for Kylie. I had all the little kids around. I was helping them, showing them how to frame, like stuff like that. Just little things like showing the kids on my side of the Rez how to change oil on a car, like doing little things like that. Like, I want to be able to show the kids like what life is about, you know, like show them life ain't about drugs, money, all this other shit, but at the same time I want to be able to be recognized by my people. You know, I don't know if that makes sense or not. I don't know if it's too much collusion or whatever the word is for it, but I feel like I'm neglected by my people.
That's sad, man, because, you know, I don't know. I've known you all this time, and I just think of you as one of the people, you know. But I know you can't be the only one that feels that way.
Yeah.
Because you're not the only one in that boat.
Yeah, no.
You know, and the sad thing is to think that that's what everyone's kids and grandkids are going to feel. You know,
They are.
I've had conversations with others that are in the same situation, and they've said similar things where they just feel like, you know, and some kids don't even know they're in that boat until they become 18, and then they're told, like, you can't be enrolled, and they're like, wait, what? I do believe it's a moral thing, I really do, and it's something we're all going to experience. You know, my tribe here that I'm enrolled in, for everybody out there, I'll give you guys an example. You know, like I was talking about my mom, she can't claim her dad's blood because he's enrolled from a different tribe, and that's the, you know, CBQ White Mountain Apache.
Yeah.
So I'm a quarter of that technically if we're going to do the old math. But she married my dad, who has lived in this community now 50 years. He's one of the OGs of bird singing, you know.
Yeah.
There's only a few of them that started, you know, and learned from an old man in the 70s, and if they didn't do that, we wouldn't even have Kumeyaay bird. And so he's been, you know, he's put his time in to help out our nation. But he's enrolled in different tribes. He's enrolled in San Isabel, and so I don't get to claim his blood on my enrollment either. So you would think, you know, I would be able to. He's Kumeyaay too, like me, and he's lived here in his community 50 years, but I don't get to claim his blood. And then I marry a woman from San Isabel, the same Rez, and both of her parents are from San Isabel.
But your kids can claim.
But I can't claim my wife's blood. I can't claim it, even though both of her parents are Kumeyaay.
But can your kids?
So my kids, now I'm left with this option. I'm left with an option to go, my kids are born and raised in this home here on this res. They've lived their whole life on Viejas Reservation, or like I have.
Do they be enrolled there? Or
do we enroll them in Viejas or San Isabel? Now here's the thing. It's messed up because on the books, Viejas rules, they go, okay, my grandma's full, my mom is counted as half because they don't count her dad. I'm counted as a quarter because I don't get to count my dad or my grandpa.
Yeah.
And then my kids are now the eighth because they don't get to count their mom or these other people. And so here in Viejas, they're recognized as an eighth, enough to get enrolled, right?
Yeah.
Which is cool. But their kids are going to be in the same boat you're at right now, having those same feelings.
Exactly.
And it's messed up because if you look on federally recognized, what are they? You know, and that's what makes me think like, well, do I enroll them in San Isabel? You know, and we haven't really made that decision yet because they do have a lot of friends in San Isabel. They have cousins and they have family. They love it up there. And I love the people in San Isabel, and that's my second home for sure, and everything. But enrollment-wise, like, I go up there, my kids will be, if I enrolled my kids in San Isabel, they would have more blood than me. They'd have twice as much blood as me. And that's crazy because I'm their parent. And so it's like, what the heck? Because they count all Indian blood.
Yeah.
San Isabel would count, they would take me and they wouldn't say I'm a quarter. They would count my grandfather. They would count my dad. They would count Vanessa, my wife. They would count her parent. They'd count everybody. And my kids would have all this blood up there. And then their grandkids and great-grandkids would be guaranteed enrollment. But here in Viejas, if I enroll them here, as it is now, everything sits, my grandkids are not guaranteed enrollment unless they hook up with someone from this res or Barona. And so the thing is about tribal enrollment is that, and my kids, they all sing bird and play peon, and I mean, I try to raise them as cultures as I can, you know, as I was raised. But you get down to it, and you're like, enrollment is so nuanced. It's so like, there's so much to it. It's not ever just cut and dry like, oh, they just can't make blood, or they're not enrolled, or they're not.
Fucking
it's
greed.
not. And a lot of it has to do with resource, greed, land. Some of it's misguidedness. People try to put a good law, a rule in for the people, and the effect is so negative. Some of it is they, you know, our people were just put into the system, and they just say, this is how it's always been, let's keep it going, without the real understanding that the system was made to kill us. Or to wipe us out,
No,
you know,
it is.
to drain us
It
out.
is.
And it's crazy because people get comfortable, you know, I've seen people like in my boat and go like, well, my kids can be enrolled, and they feel comfortable saying that. But it's crazy because their nieces and nephews maybe can't, or their own grandkids can't. And so it's a real weird thing that we as natives, we really have to like get comfortable talking about it and really start to try to look you know, we're always told, like, we look 7 generations, you know, 3 generations forward.
Yeah.
But do we? This is a prime example of where we don't.
No.
We don't.
If I got enrolled in Viejas, I'd have less blood than I would if I got enrolled in Barona.
Makes no sense, huh?
No,
The
it
next row is
doesn't.
over, you're more
It
Indian than
doesn't.
if you're here. That's like legit. Like, I could have been enrolled in San Isabel too, because my dad's from there.
Yeah.
It's like, if I was there, I would be more Indian than I am here.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm less Indian by being raised and born down in
And
this
who's to
community.
say that?
Yeah. And then the whole idea, like, I'm more Indian than you, you're more Indian than me, I'm more Indian than that person, they're more Indian than, like, it's bad enough we got all the super Indians out there trying to out-Indian everybody.
Yeah.
But then you go into the, like, you're not even part of this, or, like, I'm more Indian. It's a weird, no other humans do that. Those people who are like, I'm good, my kids are good, sucks for you.
And see,
it's like, whoa, that's not community, that's not, that's not our teachings.
See, and that's ridiculous.
So how do we get out of that, man? How do we get out of that?
I don't know, dude. I don't know. We gotta do something about it though, or our race is not gonna be anymore.
Yeah, we as a people gotta do something about it, man. But
2 or 3 decades down the road, our race is not gonna be anything. If we have a president like Donald Trump, we ain't gonna be shit.
These are things that have been talked about.
These are real issues.
But they're real issues. They need to be talked about. I mean, I think, like, we think about what can we do about it. Number one, we have to admit there's a problem. We have to talk about it.
We
there's
a big problem.
Can't be like, we don't want to talk about it. No, let's talk about it.
It's coming to light these days.
Yeah, it is, and it's only going to keep going in that direction.
Yeah.
And we have to be empathetic to each other to try to hear someone's situation. My neighbor, I don't want to mention her name or nothing, but my neighbor, she's like a activist warrior, she does a lot of good in our community. She's one of our younger speakers in the whole nation, and she can't get enrolled here either because of not collecting all Indian blood and things like that. So, you look at people in our communities, like, I know a singer who's not enrolled in his tribe, but he grew up there, he was part of that community, and he's one of their leads, he's their main guy, and it's like they don't give him that shake, and so it's all over Indian country, this very nuanced, what is blood, what is membership, what is, and it's like, I don't have the answers necessarily, but I know it ain't right now, but we got to start talking about it, and we got to kind of be willing to expose ourselves a little bit and talk about it. So, man, I appreciate you coming in and sharing, man, because it takes people like you to kind of say, like, hey, here's what's up, and it's not right, and here's how I feel about it. Because I don't know that a lot of people in this res has even thought about how you feel about that.
I just wanted to bring it to light. Like, most people don't even know what I am and what I am not,
That's what this is all about. That's why we do this Life in the Res, it's like trying to put out a true story perspective of what we're experiencing, what we're facing. It's not all, Indian flutes in the background and walk 10 laps at the powwow, like, we got some real issues, man, people dealing with stuff, we got, and then we got some real structural stuff we got to deal with, our enrollment, and staying healthy, and promoting each other, building up our business, supporting one another, stopping the crabs in the bucket thing, or maybe our kids and grandkids, they won't make those mistakes. But we got to talk about it. So I appreciate you coming in, man. Appreciate everything. With that, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Kickstand, live from the Rez.
Live from the Rez. You have a good night, brother.
That's good. That's a good intro, man. That was good.
Yeah.